Hello and welcome to Reportage. This is Danish bin Nabi. In today's segment of Reportage, I am joined by author Bupinder Singh Bali to talk about his book Sikhs in Kashmir. It's a personal memoir about how a minority feels when one of its members gets killed or threatened. More from the author. Mr. Singh, your book revolves around teacher Supendra. If I'm not, if I'm naming her name correctly, her name was Supendra, right? Supendra Kaur.
Bupinder,
Yes. The book revolves around the teacher. You had known her personally. Talk a bit about her. How was she? Who was she? Why was she killed?
your question is three-tied. So first I'll talk about her. I knew her personally because I used to teach her kids. So that's how I came to know her. She had two wonderful kids, a girl and a boy. They were studying in DPS at that point of time. And she herself, whenever I went to their house, she would bring me tea and snacks, and we'll chit chat a little after the class and all. So what I understood from that, I taught her kids for around 4 to 5 months, more than that. So what I understood through all those conversations and all was that she was a very passionate woman, passionate about the future of her kids. She was worried about how her daughter would fare, how her son would do. And on a general notion, we would talk about books, the importance of reading, why she wants her children to read other books apart from the school curriculum and all. So those were the topics of our discussion. Then sometime we would talk about the school because she was the principal at a government school. I was also a teacher at a government school. So we would talk about how things are happening in the government sphere in the schools and all. So those were our talks. And then your question is why she was killed. That's a very open answer because within a day of her killing, the TRF posted a poster online on all the social medias saying that she was killed and they took the responsibility of the killing, telling the world that she had hosted the Indian flag on the eve of Independence Day, and that was the reason for being killed. Due to which there was a very large protest. Thousands of people, both Sikhs and Muslims, came out on the roads for a number of days, like calling, condemning the attack, and talking about why such a thing guarantees that a person should be killed. So yeah, that was the book is as you said, the book, but it does not revolve around Supinder. That's the spine of the book. How I, as a, because it's a memoir, it's a personal story, how I feel when that triggers a plethora of things for me. The killing of Supinder and Deepak Chand. Supinder was not the only one. Deepak Chand was also killed on the same day in the same school. And before that, Makhanlal Bindru was killed. Two more people were killed, and during that whole week, more than 11 people were killed in total. I'm just counting the civilian casualties. There were encounters between army and the militant outfits. So people from both the factions are also killed. Any life lost is a human life lost. So, but alas, we have started, coloring people by Hindu, Muslim, army, militant. So that's a misery we are facing right now.
So you were talking about her killing.
जी.
Please continue
तो
with your.
मैं कह रहा था कि जो बुक है it just not only revolves around one killing, it's during those that 1 month जो भी बाकी सारी killings हुई थी, we talk about all of those, and then that that event triggers something in me as a narrator of the story, because it's a memoir, so I talk about my side of it, how I perceive it. It's a very personal opinion at places, and at other places it's a documentary where I've interviewed people, and also it's a mix of personal and reporting.
You have also talked about your wife, Indu, which you have given a quite good story about your marriage and her. How did she, because she is an outsider, she is not a Kashmiri, how did she take these killings?
See, for them, any killing is very a brutal act. So they do not think the way we Kashmiris think about the killings. So when somebody dies in that too in the vicinity, the first emotion that comes is disgust, that why this should happen, and the second is fear, that oh, this happened. Then comes empathy and sympathy. But when it's happening so fast that because these events happen in a quick succession. First day we were out at Dal having some coffee and something, and we heard that this Makhanal Bindru and three other people have been killed. So we had to come back home. Then to that day too, we talked, and I told her it's a one-off event, happens sometimes and this. But then the next day again, the same thing happened. More people were killed, and then it's not only how you perceive, it's also how the world around you feeds you the news about it. So everybody was talking about those killings, the news media, social media, Facebook posts, everybody everywhere started dissecting the killings and all, giving it different names, minority killings or hate crimes or whatever you call it, whatever name you give it, that does not matter. But the emotion it evokes in a person, especially somebody who's come from outside and is staying in Kashmir, that was the first emotion of fear. And then her parents and her family started calling her, asking her that, because they also hear news about Kashmir. So they also asked
But
her, why are you staying?
but she put her foot down and did not leave Kashmir.
Yeah. So whenever I told her to go back to Delhi because she was studying in Delhi that point of time, I would tell her, "You go, we are fine here." But then she would say, "How can you tell me that you go? If something happens to me, would you tell me, okay, you stay here, I'll go? Or if I tell you you have to go from somewhere, leaving me in that distressed area, would you go?" So that was a very like make believe thing that you cannot leave and you cannot stay. So that's the point of the book, that when you stay you feel distressed, and when you leave you feel distressed.
In the book, you have consistently been mentioning about Virji. Virji this, Virji that, Virji like this. Explain for the viewers, who is this Virji? And I think you must be talking about this Virji. Who is this Virji in the book?
Oh, so Virji is a very important, not only a character in this book, because this book is not a fiction book, it's a non-fiction. So Veer is a very important person for our community in Kashmir. And I know him from last 25 years now. When I was a kid, I used to go to the Gurdwara library. And like the Muslims have madrasas, we have vidyalas in Gurdwaras. So he used to, in the central city, Srinagar, there's a place called Baghat Barzula. There's a Gurdwara, Shahid Gunga Gurdwara there. So in that Gurdwara, he was the in charge of library. So this person, he has mentored countless people from our community. He has taught us Punjabi, and then he has put us towards the reading. He had a library. He 90% of the time he would buy books, magazines, newspapers out of his own pocket, put it in the library. He would buy chess boards and carom boards and tennis rackets and whatever we wanted as children, he would buy for us. And the only condition was that you have to read. So he put the sense of reading into us. So the love for the books, and eventually, most of us, all of us, we went into different places. Everybody got settled. A number of students from of like his mentees are abroad working in big name multinational companies and all. A lot of us has acquired government services. So he's the kind of a pillar for all of our intellectual activity centered in Kashmir.
And
And
he's related to you as well, if I'm correct.
no, we do not have a blood relation as such, but Virji is a word which means elder brother. So when we go to the library, we everybody used to call him elder brother. His original name is Jagjit Singh, but now everybody has started him calling Virji. So we feel more connected to him in a way that I don't feel that connected to a lot of my own relatives. But yeah.
Before we come back to the topic and to this book, you mentioned about books कि सिर्फ एक शर्त थी कि आप लोगों को पढ़ना है. What is your current read? What are you currently reading? Which book?
Oh, currently I've been obsessed by a book called Shantaram. It's written by Gregory D. Roberts. So uh, it's a big book talking about an Australian who comes to India and how he struggles. He's the inmate of a jail in Australia. He flees from there, comes to India, gets into smuggling, drugs, mafia, all those things, but eventually ends up as a social servant, social service person in the slums of Mumbai. The way it's written, the lyricality of the prose and all, that's too good for me. So I keep on reading that again and again. And other than that, I'm exploring more of the Japanese books. Yasunari Kawabata. I'm reading the Song of the Mountain, and I'm reading the Hojin murders. So I've been going towards a little Japanese literature right now.
Absolutely right. Back to the book. Now, tell me one thing. Do Spinder incident happens in, I guess, around roughly around in 2022, summer of 2022, if I am not wrong.
2020, it happened in 2021, 7th of October.
Yeah,
The
21.
incident you mentioned is Rahul Bhatt that happened on 12th of May 2022.
Absolutely, absolutely. How do Sikhs feel now in Kashmir? Are they safe in Kashmir?
See, this is a very difficult to say for some individual because it's like if I
Because it
ask you
varies from
as
one case to the other.
it varies from one case to another. So there's no common consciousness about that. Some people might be feeling safe, some people might not be feeling safe. Because if we go back 30, 40 years, we see the 90s, a lot of Sikhs have also left Kashmir. But 10 times that number stayed in Kashmir because they felt safe or whatever their reasons were. When Chitti Singhpura happened, same thing happened. Some felt safe, some felt unsafe. So I guess the families who are immediately affected or the people whose relatives or people from their bloodline when they are killed or affected or when the mental stress is too much, that's the reason for us leaving. I don't think it's about safety. It's about the mental safety more than the physical safety, because physically if we take into account our population and the number of killings in Sikhs, I don't think that would be a very big deal. That many people would die of accidents also.
You
But
use the word
this is more about
mental
the
mental safety. Explain it for the viewers. What do you mean by mental safety? Because people outside India do not have this understanding of mental safety. For the viewers, understand, make us understand what this mental safety is.
See, when you live at a place, you need some basics. One, you need a freedom to move wherever you want to go, whatever you want to eat, whichever places you want to roam around. If you can do that without the fear of being killed or without the fear of being, set up in an encounter or being checked again and again at multiple checkpoints. So those things would I would call that's a mental stress that a person has. And the opposite of that, when you are completely free of any of those mental agonies. See, I one simple example would clarify that. Every Kashmiri household, whenever somebody goes out, the people from the house would call them multiple times. Kahan ho? Kaise ho? When I go to school, I get the calls. When I go roaming around somewhere, I'll get the calls. All my friends. I haven't seen anybody not getting a call
Is
from
this
their
only
parents
with
or
Sikhs and Muslims, but is this with the with entire population?
no, it's with the entire population of Kashmir because Kashmir has been so uncertain. It's not for Sikhs only or for Muslims only. So this uncertainty that would they come back home now? So it's still a lot better in the last 4 or 5 years. But before that, if we see this uncertainty was too high that people would fear that if somebody is going out of the house, we don't know they would come back alive or not. And that's a common consciousness of Kashmir. Not only it's not my personal opinion only. This is what it's at large in throughout the Kashmir. Everybody is fearful of that. So that's what is your mental stress. And mental safety would be like when you feel safe doing whatever you want without the implications, without the fear of implications, what will happen.
Do you hold Kashmiri Muslims responsible for the condition of Kashmiri Sikhs?
No, not at all.
And
See,
why is it so?
ma- I've grown up in Kashmir in a way. I would say I have migrated a number of times out of it, but still, most of my memories are from Kashmir. Most of my friends were Kashmiris. I could name more than 100 people who I have been close friends with. Right now, also, I have a lot of close friends,
But
Muslims from Kashmir.
but
Javed
but
Pasha
then
is one of
in
Danish.
your book you have mentioned how you were bullied by Kashmiri Muslims when you were in school, when you were growing up. 12 baj rahe hain. Right now you are saying that
That,
Kashmiri Muslims are
see,
now.
that is what I what your question was, is the is are Muslims responsible for the condition that's happening to the Kashmiri Sikhs? So I would say no for that. The oppression has never been direct because we exist in such a
But
small
even for
micro
this
minority
indirect
that people die
oppression,
for it.
aren't Muslims responsible?
See, it's making a community responsible for something would be very bad to do, which is not the purpose of my book. Because that is one of the purposes I wanted to write this book, is that people do not understand that we are being oppressed by Muslims. People should know that it's not Sikhs versus Muslims in Kashmir. We live in a very
But
peaceful
when I
way among each other.
again coming back to the question, but when I read your book from one cover to cover, there is a plausible anger you have against Muslims. If we read between the lines in the book, there is an anger you have against the Muslims.
No,
This
I
is
won't
the
say that's an
impression which
anger
I
to.
got after reading your book.
Okay. That can be your personal interpretation of the book, but as a writer, I would say that I don't have any anger towards Muslim, or neither I want the convey that anger towards the Muslim. But what a reader will get out of this book would be the indirect oppression that I'm talking about, the indirect mental stress that a Sardar student or a Sardar child has. For example, when we travel in the bus, a lot of people around us smoke. They do not mind about that. So that's not oppression. That is their habit of smoking, which is against our habit of non-smoking in a place where we are only one and the people around us are in hundreds. So that's some kind of oppression that is not directed towards anybody. It happens because of your existence
But
itself.
it's still subtle oppression by the other group, even if it's not direct.
See, sometimes people don't know. A lot of my friends do not smoke in front of me because they know I'm a Sikh. So they would ask me, hey, Whoopi, we need to smoke, so we'll go out, or can you just move a little away? But those people who do not know, one reason of writing the book was to spread this knowledge throughout the people, that they should know what Sikhs are and what their habits are. I've talked about our culture. Through these small, subtle examples, I've also talked about our way of eating food, our way of non-smoking, non-alcoholism, and all those things. So what happens was people don't understand. A very, I would say, a very lovable character, of mother of one of my friends, very nice woman. She did not know the difference of eating styles between Sikhs and Muslims. So she offered me kebabs with tea. Now, this is not oppression. This is misinformation or ignorance about our culture. So I won't say she tried to oppress me or she tried to force feed me. No. She, out of love, she would give me kebabs, and I had to tell her that no, as Sikhs, we don't eat jatka and halal. So that's difference between the jatka and halal. I had to tell her. Now, it would seem oppression to some, but it would seem a simple act of ignorance, or, you know, the absence of that concept to some. So that's how people can take it, I guess. And the 12 Bajke joke that you said, that's not only in Kashmir, that happens in Jammu also. But how does it work differently in Kashmir is because in Jammu, our population is more. So if I have a fight in a class with somebody in Jammu, I would have 10 people on my side also. If I would have a fight, I would I'll still have 10 Muslim friends on my side. But then again, the mental agony of being the only Sikh child in the school sometimes scared me.
So, are you back to the schools now? This I'm particularly talking about the Sikh teachers. Are you people back to the schools?
Yeah. Everybody went back to the schools. Every single person went back to the school.
And how do you view situation after 2019 since the abrogation of Article 370?
That's a very political question at the times of election. But yeah, uh, it's uh, it's always three different things, three different views of the same thing. Some people are happy with it, some people are completely against it, and some people have a very neutral stance because they don't feel that it being there or it not being there affected it. People who have a lot of land, who might think that our lands would be now open for anybody to purchase, they might be scared. People who had a very good business flow might feel scared of the competitors coming from other places, so they might be fearful. People who did not have much exposure, who did not get much employment and all, they might feel, okay, some companies are coming now to Kashmir, we might get better chance of employment. They might be happy with it. And somebody who just lives someplace and is living his own life, farming on his own land, doesn't give
So
a
there is
damn
a
about what.
mixture of emotions on the abrogation of Article 370 among the Kashmiris.
Yeah, yeah. That is it.
And
That
what's
happened
your
not only.
and for Bupinder Singh Bali, are you sad, happy, or contented with the abrogation of Article 370?
I'm all of the three things.
You are
As
happy,
an
at the
individual and as
same
a
time you
human
are
being,
sad.
yeah, I would say that every individual is a reflection of its own community. So you sometimes you personally feel it's good, sometimes you personally feel it's bad. As a Kashmiri, because I do identify myself as a Kashmiri, Article 370 was a promise given to us, which was broken. I felt sad about that. Not because it was broken, because the way it was broken. But after it, a number of things happened. I felt, okay, this is good. Now feeling better.
Mr. Singh, well, now you are giving me an apolitical answer to the question I posed. Let's move on with my last question. Where are we with the investigation on teacher Spinzer?
There was nothing, no investigation, because it was out open. Immediately the next day, it was called that TRF had taken the responsibility. So there was no
And so
investigation.
the
Not
case was closed.
case was pinned on an unknown gunman. That is the trend from last 3 years. All the civilian killing, everybody killed, every human life lost has been pinned on a person called unknown gunman, which does not has a face, which does not has an affiliation to any of the older militant outfits like Lashkar or HM or anything else. They are just unknown gunmen carrying pistols in their bags, shooting out of anywhere, nowhere. You never know. And that's more difficult for minorities to live now. Because now earlier you knew that you would be killed in an encounter, or some people would come to your home, they will inquire about you and then kill you. But now that fear that it can happen any place. A person was killed in his shop, a person was killed on his vending radar, a person was killed in a school, a person was killed in a bank, killed at his home. So the operations have changed a lot in the last 3 4 years. Now that uncertainty is not only in the market, that uncertainty is in your place of work and your place of residence, in your place of enjoyment. Anywhere you go, anybody can pull out a gun and shoot you. So that it won't happen, but it's that kind
But
of a
the fear
mental thing
psychosis you
mentally.
have,
Yes.
and it's still there after the abrogation of 370, which we were told that
Yeah.
everything will be all right.
Yeah, this the phenomenon of unknown gunmen came after 370 only. Before that, it was not like that. Before that, it was a bigger movement, which was which were the major terrorist or militant outfits against the Indian army and the people who were in the collateral. Now it after 370, it has shifted into this unknown gunman scenario, which is very troubling for a lot of people.
And so the situation has actually worsened on the ground, if we may say so.
See, there's multiple facets to it. A lot of things have improved after 370. A lot of I personally I haven't seen any hartals, any protests, anything after 370. There has been none. No reports of actual, you know, and everything has been open. There's been no hartals. The school sessions are going good. You just exclude the COVID out of it. But as a teacher, I know every year we would get at least 20, 30, 40 unnecessary off days because of the hartals. Somebody would call for a ban, somebody would call for a hartal, something would happen, somebody would be killed somewhere, there would be some encounter somewhere. The first thing that closes down was school. A lot of students' lives have been, kind of ruined because of that miss in the school. So that thing has not been happening in the last 3-4 years. Then there's no shutter down, there's no hartal. So that's made the civilian life a little better. But on the other hand, the rumor that all of this is the quiet before the storm is also on the rise again. So this unknown gunman and this individual killing, target-based killing, that's there. So I would say it's a mix of things. You cannot say
Mr.
that after Article 370 everything went good or
Mr.
everything
Singh,
went bad.
Mr. Singh, all of us do hope that things go better off from this point now. It was a pleasure talking to you. Let me hold your book once again for the viewers so that it reaches maximum people and people buy it and read it and understand what Sikhs of Kashmir are. Thank you very much for talking to me. Thank you. Please subscribe to our channel Reportage and press the bell icon to remain updated.